Welcome everybody in for our second episode of Warm Weather Fans of the Week. We are here to run down all of the Week 9 games, including tonight's showdown between South Alabama and Georgia State, if you want to call it that. Zeke, how's it going with you, man?
I'd be better if I didn't have to watch this game tonight. I mean, pretty simply put.
It's got to be the matchup of it is the two worst teams, and it's like somebody's got to win, right? Like
the best outcome, I think, to be representative of the true game that will be played and of these two teams, is a power outage in Atlanta, and they just can't play the game.
I think the best representation is they are tied 17-17, and then the game runs until Saturday, until they're just in 17th overtime. Neither team can convert a 2-point conversion. We're down to quarterback fives on the depth chart. People are like passed out due to exhaustion. Bishop Davenport's taking a nap on the bench like halfway through one of the overtimes. Like, I think that would be the best representation, because it's like the team that can't score against the team that doesn't really play all that much defense, and then we just keep going back and forth.
Yeah, I said this last week ahead of the Georgia State-Georgia Southern game, and I think I was being a little facetious in that moment, and I'm starting to mean it more, and starting to hope for it more. Somebody needs to get fired after this game from either side, whether it's Major Applewhite or Dell McGee, or we have talked all season long about, for some reason, Hugh Jackson is involved in Georgia State football because he did such a great job at Grambling, I guess.
Who was the offensive coordinator for State last year that you said he just like took a step back and like became a position coach or something, right?
Yeah. So it was Jim Chaney last year, and it was I really don't know the full story. He just kind of, I think it was like a family medical thing. He was here. It was his first year there. And he had brought in under Dell McGee. McGee brought in new coordinators, and Hugh Jackson was like general manager or whatever. And so Chaney stepped down relatively late in the off season, this upcoming season. So maybe there's to lament what could have been, but it's not like we saw a ton out of the Georgia State offense last year that really left a ton. Like, oh man, if only Chaney was still here.
Right.
So
I mean, I guess for all of his faults, it's like Hugh Jackson's not the problem because the offense isn't the issue with State, but their run game leaves a lot to be desired. And I don't know who made the final call on Cameron Brown up until this past Saturday when they lost to Southern, but whoever made that call that it needed to be TJ Finley splitting reps 50-50, they need to be fired. I don't know if it was Jackson pulling for that or if it was Dell McGee, but somebody needs to get the axe. And it's like, if South Alabama loses as a 6.5 point road favorite, it definitely needs to be Major Applewhite, because I don't know how at 1-7, and I actually like Georgia State here because I've seen more signs of life with the Cameron Brown offense than I have from South Alabama. I may actually even throw Georgia State money line into a parlay, just because I feel like Bishop Davenport's offense is like on life support, and like the thing is like barely going boop every like 5 minutes, and otherwise it's just flatlined. Like, they don't have anything really going for them. So
I mean, someone's got to win it.
Yeah. Well, I would like to officially say I like Georgia State if Cameron Brown plays. If it is a non-Cameron Brown quarterback, I would like to abstain. Let's say that.
Well, you tell your sportsbook back or tell them that and let me know what they say. Get back to me on that one.
Yeah, they should void my bet if Cameron Brown doesn't play, because it's not like we get, like I said, it's not like we get these structured injury reports the way that we do for like NFL.
Well, we have the availability reports, but like last week, I think Georgia State had maybe 20 guys on it as just like
Right.
questionable or doubtful. It's like, what do we?
That's my issue is like you never hear if guys are out for the season until like it's already happened.
Mhm.
So you'll see these guys pop up on the report and then they'll just be questionable, doubtful for like a whole season. But then in reality, it's like, are they ever going to play again this year? Probably not.
Right.
So, all right. Getting to the Saturday slate, we've got a really short slate of games here, just 4 Saturday games. At noon on ESPNU, App State is traveling to Norfolk to take on an Old Dominion team who is reeling, I would say, after 2 straight losses at the hands of getting blown out by Marshall and now James Madison.
Mhm.
Old Dominion has allowed, I'm doing some quick head math here, like 111 points over their last 2 games. So they're just getting absolutely housed. Like they showed up in the first half of the JMU game, and then JMU's defense is just smothering. I don't doubt that Old Dominion is going to come out with a vengeance and want to win this game big. However, there's something to me that, and I could be totally off on this, but there's something to me that's like one of 2 things is going to happen. Either the Monarchs are going to come out and they're just going to absolutely railroad App, or they're going to come out and kind of go, we're at the stage where we just kind of want to make a bowl game, and
Mhm.
like that's the ceiling. Because again, JMU has to lose 3 Sunbelt games for Old Dominion to climb back into control of the East, and that's frankly just not going to happen at this point.
Yeah, we said this in the recap episode of last week's games. I have not seen anything out of a Ricky Ronnie team that makes me think that this is going to be like this quick slide is going to rebound into 5 straight wins to close out the season. I don't really. I've never seen that out of an Old Dominion team since they've joined the conference, as that being in the cards. With that said, I really didn't like App last week, allowing 45 to Coastal. Even with Samari Collier, I think there's a real ceiling on the Coastal offense. We talked the reason, or one of the several reasons, James Madison and Marshall were able to beat Old Dominion. Obviously, they beat down on that defense, but it's because they were able to contain Colton Joseph. And that requires 2 things: someone that can identify what James Madison and Marshall were doing on film or schematically, but also the personnel. And we've not seen that personnel out of App. And so I think Old Dominion, for all of their flaws and for, as you said, they're so far now out of the playoff picture, at least the Sun Belt championship picture, that I don't think this has much bearing. And now the ultimate goal is bowl game. For all of their flaws, I think they still win this one pretty handedly.
Remember when 3 weeks ago people were talking about Old Dominion being the G5 representative in the playoff, and where we are today is just insane to me.
It's like we don't have to relitigate this because it gets me hot every time. It really does. Because I let myself get fooled. They fooled me because all of this incessant, oh, look, you were wrong. No, we were right. You just did it against an FCS team and against Coastal Carolina.
I think there is some middle ground, though. I do think that we were further off, but ultimately it's like, if Old Dominion's goal was just to finish over 500, then sure, the people that were mad at us in the preseason were correct. Like they'll probably win 7 games when it's all said and done. At least they'll probably win 7, but that's just kind of by virtue of the conference as a whole. Like it is not a good year for the East. It is a 2-horse race in the East, and basically it depends on how you feel about Troy. But right now it's Southern Miss kind of pacing the West. It's like a 3-team conference, and everybody else is just kind of the riffraff. If people's goal was to basically say we're going to win 7 games no matter what, that's fine. If you thought that you were, as Old Dominion, going to compete with JMU, you are sorely mistaken in the preseason. And we said that, and people were like, no, they're going to be right there with JMU to the end. And it's like, you're 3 games out of the East at this stage. You're basically as in it as App is at 1 and 2. Like the winner of this one can go ahead and just book their trip to Mobile, because you guys are playing in those crappy bowl games. So yeah, this has been a really important. I mean, not important, but like sad fall off, I guess. And App, the thing that gives me pause is like their inability all of a sudden to run the football with Dominion. We talked about on the recap. If you can't run the ball against JMU and it's just the JJ Cole show, which JJ Cole's been good, but you can't ask him to do everything. Other people have to step up and contribute as well. So, and they gave up 4 sacks to Coastal last week. I think this is a get right spot for Old Dominion. But yeah, this season has totally gone off the rails. If your goal was we need to be in the Sun Belt title game at the end of the season. 3:30 ESPN Plus. We've got Southern Miss ready to take the belt to UL Monroe, a UL Monroe team that is offensively challenged. Southern Miss is an 11.5-point home favorite. I think I like that easy. I think Southern Miss is a better team than Troy, and Troy just gave ULM the belt last Saturday, 37-14. I think it's going to be close to. I think they're going to score more than they did against Louisiana. Southern Miss will, but it's going to be that type of Louisiana win that they got last week, where they just kind of put the chokehold on ULM and just choke them out for like 4 quarters.
Yeah, there's not a ton to like here about ULM. I think for Southern Miss, I said this, I really think they do need to remain perfect if they want to have that final week showdown against Troy, which will act as a by proxy conference semifinal game. But I mean, frankly, with Southern Miss, you get Texas State, Arkansas State, and I think South Alabama as your other games the rest of the way. It's like, just don't fall for the trap in any of these last games and you should be good.
Yep. So yeah, I think Southern Miss takes ULM to the woodshed there. This is at 7:00 ESPN Plus. This is an interesting style game because you get Georgia Southern traveling to Jonesboro to take on Arkansas State, and Arkansas State is a 1.5-point home favorite, which obviously Vegas doesn't feel too strongly because they're not even giving them the full like 3-point home bump. But Georgia Southern is just so bad on the road. Like, I don't know what it is. This has been an issue going back like multiple head coaches. As soon as they go on the road, they just totally forget like how to play football. But on the other side of things, what is telling me is Arkansas State is either going to score 14 points in this game or they're going to score 45, and there's like no in between. So I lean Arkansas State just because of they're at home and Georgia Southern does not show up on the road. But this is a true like flip a coin. Anything can happen. Like, I truly don't know what to expect out of either team.
I hear what you're saying. I think the kind of home road split is not something that you can ignore. But what I saw last week out of Georgia Southern was that against a Georgia State team that, much like Arkansas State, does not have a run game outside of the quarterback, as we learn now with Cameron Brown, can kind of provide that for Georgia State. And Jalen Rayner leads his team in rushing yards this year. We saw that for all of their deficiencies in the run game. I mean, this was at one point and is still among the worst rush defenses in the country. Georgia Southern, you still have to have a talent floor at that position. You still have to have a certain level of offensive line and a certain level of running back. Now, granted, you hit those, you're going to run for 350 as a team.
Yeah.
But Arkansas State's not at that level, and I guess you could argue that Arkansas State has, unlike Georgia State, doesn't have that running game and has still managed to win some games and look relatively competent. Obviously, last week's real poor showing against South Alabama and then having to go to overtime against Texas State and then the loss to ULM even before that brings into question the real legitimacy of if Arkansas State has been able to win games in a real convincing fashion without that run game. but I think they can get away with it against, or I think Georgia Southern will not let Arkansas State get away with it.
Okay, real quick, let me ask you this though.
Yeah.
Would you argue that a couple weeks ago, when Southern Miss beat Georgia Southern, would you argue that Southern Miss has that talent floor at the running back spot? Because it's like they finally ran for 100 yards in a game. Southern Miss did, like, or had a player run for 100 yards in a game. They have a good quarterback, the same way that Jalen Rayner for Arkansas State. But the thing that I keep coming back to is like Arkansas State does not have anywhere close to the defensive caliber that Southern Miss did. So I'm like, even if they have a guy run for 100 yards, like it may not matter. But I keep going back to the Southern Miss game, and I'm like, if Southern Miss can do that in Statesboro without a guy that had run for 100 yards in a game all season, then Arkansas State can do it at home. Is sort of what goes through my head.
I think that's a really good argument, and I really don't know. I think that's a good point to bring up because Southern Miss, I think the difference there though is that Southern Miss is a comprehensively better team than Arkansas State, really everywhere. Yep. I can't pinpoint a position like Corey Rucker is better than any of the Southern Miss receivers, but that's about it.
Yep.
I don't know. That's a really good point. I don't know what to do with that.
I'm always opening up myself to the opportunity that JC French just throws 3 picks and then the game is basically it's 28-13 like midway through the fourth quarter, and I'm like, I'm such an idiot for thinking that they were going to make this a game. Like he can truly be. We talked about Two-Face on the last episode. He can truly be Jekyll and Hyde. Like whoever shows up, you just have no clue what you're getting, whether it be home, road, in a smash spot against a bad defense, playing against a good defense, bad defense, good defense, doesn't really matter. Like he can make defensive players that he plays against superstars overnight, just because you never know when he's just gonna hit a guy in the breadbasket twice, and you're like, all right, well, what did we expect? Right. But he did rebound from Southern Miss, so credit there. All right, last game of the night, 7:00. Louisiana is traveling to Troy to take on the Trojans. Troy is a 9.5-point home favorite. Troy's rolling right now. They've found something with this Tucker Kilcrease, Jared Parker mix. It didn't look good to start, but they had some comeback wins. They, like I said, they beat the brakes off of ULM last week. I think they do it again to this Louisiana team that just feels like they are rudderless at this stage in the season, where it's like it felt like against Marshall that Louisiana had figured some stuff out with lunch, and then last week it felt like Southern Miss kind of exposed what their limitations are.
Yeah, I think really my hope for this game is for Louisiana fans, one, that this brings you one game closer to Billy Napier, as we talked about in the last episode. But I really hope that Louisiana doesn't go away from lunch, even if Troy really starts to pick on him in this game, because I guess we saw some reps from Walker Howard very intermittently, although he went like 2 for 4 with an interception. So, it wasn't great, but we saw Walker Howard reps. This is the best quarterback play you've gotten all year out of anyone in Lunch Winfield, even at his 50%. And we talked about this kind of after his first full start. What Lunch is doing that Daniel Beal wasn't doing was, well, for one, running the ball very, very well, but actually pushing it downfield and making plays and taking risks. And that just opens the door offensively to a dimension that you didn't have with Daniel Beal. Do we know if you have that with Walker Howard? Maybe. But I think the long-term future is with Lunch Winfield, is you just look at like basic eligibility stuff. And again, Lunch has been very electric, very fun to watch. And selfishly, I hope that he remains the starter. And that's going to mean I need Louisiana to not pull him when Troy does when Troy inevitably goes up relatively big, maybe starts picking on this team. So That's all I want out of this 7 o'clock game.
The thing too that lunch gives you, we haven't necessarily seen it, but it kind of is a reverberation of what he's able to do pushing the ball down the field. Is it does open up those running lanes for Zylan Perry, Bill Davis. Now, like, the offensive line for Louisiana has not been good this year, so that's gone from being a strength of theirs last year to this year. But Daniel Beal was not even giving you that as a quarterback. So as bad as the offensive line has been, those issues were even more compounded when you can't run the football because teams know, hey, we'll just put 8 guys in the box and play single high safety and go, okay, we're playing cover 1. Is Daniel Beal going to throw it over our head? Probably not. Well, you have to make those kind of considerations with lunch. It's like, you may have to run cover 2. You may have to run cover 3, something like that, because it's like, and then that opens up those gaps running the football. Although Louisiana just as a team hasn't been able to take advantage of those, but it still makes more sense schematically. Like the thing that Wooldridge did last year, push the ball down the field vertically. Like he was a better quarterback than Lunch, obviously, but the reason the running game complemented it so well is because it's like, if we run play action, the defense is going, oh man, like this ball could go anywhere, and you just don't have that element with a Daniel Beal or really even a Walker Howard in the limited amounts we've seen him. So yeah, just keep. I think you just got to keep plugging away with Lunch. It's not like you guys are going anywhere. You're 1 loss away or 2 losses away from being out of bowl contention anyway. So it's like, might as well make it an entertaining watch. All right, like I said, that is a small 5-game slate, but there's some interesting matchups. We'll see if Old Dominion can rebound. We'll see what happens with this Georgia Southern, Arkansas State conundrum slugfest. I don't know what kind of adjective or whatever you want to throw on it, but Zeke, as we wrap up here, let everybody know where they can find you.
Yeah, man, you can find me on Twitter at Zeke Palermo, ZekePalermo. Start of the year, early parts of the year, we thought that there was maybe going to be some type of 2-horse race down the stretch in the East between Old Dominion and James Madison. Say what you want. I thought Georgia Southern could have maybe been in that argument as well in the preseason, but it turns out it's going to be in the West between Southern Miss and Troy. So, this is a really fun thing to be following, and we appreciate you all listening as we keep track of it and, watch these final weeks play out, see who comes out, and then hopefully, watch whoever comes out of the West get rolled by James Madison in the championship game.
I don't know that we would have ever in the preseason penciled in Troy Southern Miss late in the season as a must watch, but that's really the way that it's like unfolded this season, where it's gone from like, these two teams, like Southern Miss might be okay. They have a floor with this quarterback head coach combo. Troy, even with Goose Crowder early, it didn't look good. Like the Nichols game especially comes to mind. But yeah, it's gotten to be like a really fun race. And it's like, with what JMU did to Old Dominion and Old Dominion did to themselves against Marshall, like that's basically over. All JMU has to do is hold serve and they're in the title game. Boom. But yeah, it's become a really interesting race, and we'll see stylistically how those two match up. As always, you can email the show warmweatherfans@gmail.com. You can follow us on Twitter, YouTube, TikTok at warmweatherfans. You can follow me personally on X at Watch the Stone. We will be back to run down all of these Week 9 games and talk about the upcoming Week 10. This has been Warm Weather Fans.